everybody, I'm Alice K. Ruckelhaus from SufferingWell and the How Initiative. And How stands for Heal Our World. We are praying for this year for God to heal our world. And some of us have chosen specific countries to pray for. I have chosen Moldova, which I've been saying wrong all along. So it's Moldova, not Moldova, not Moldavia. It's Moldova. And I may still say it wrong sometimes. You guys, please forgive me. And if you're from Moldova, please forgive me. Anyway, it is January 16th. And this morning I was reading an article that said that one of the advisors of Putin in Russia was saying that Moldova may cease to exist as a state in 2025. They were saying the same thing about Ukraine. So a lot to pray for there. Anyway, I also wanted to tell you the date because I wanted you to know that I sometimes will actually do several things at one time, and I will record like 3 different videos or something, but you're seeing those a week apart. So you're not seeing these really when I'm doing them. But also, if you want more tutorials on how to do it, then I'll do that too. The reason that I like to show you my journal, there's actually a few reasons. One of them is in case you want to do something like this. If you've never done junk journaling before, that's really what I'm doing. And also because if you don't want to do what I'm doing, you don't want to do any like artwork or anything like that, but you just want some inspiration for things to look for, that's kind of what we're doing. If each time that you watch a video, say that I think one of the recent videos that I did was about education in Moldova. And so maybe look up education in your country. And I'm kind of trying to remember to tell you how to look for those things. So today I wanted to do religion in Moldova. And I believe, I need to write down where I get what my sources are. I think that this came from prayercast.com. And so I printed that out. I made sure that it was narrow enough that the margins were right for putting on my pages. And then I cut it in half. Like I said, I can't cut straight to save my soul. So I just purposely kind of do a squiggly kind of edge. I did distress the edges with my distressing ink. That's why it looks kind of brown around the edges and it's not like perfectly straight. It kind of goes in, bleeds in, kind of like, when something's getting old, it would do that. Okay, so I looked up religion in Moldova and to give me some guidance on how to pray for Moldova. I have some flowers that I had printed out. I had asked ChatGPT to print out to create some clip art for me. And one of them was flowers, one of them was churches in Moldova. So I've got those to put on there to give it some color. Oftentimes I write all the way around this when I'm praying and stuff. I decided not to do that on this page, but to just make kind of a fringy kind of border around those. And then I'm going to have some pages, some subsequent pages that I put some of the churches that ChatGPT made for me. I put those onto those pages so that I'll have several pages to write things that I'm praying for the Christians and the church in Moldova. Okay, so I also wanted to do the other side of this first page. And so I did Moldovan families and I wrote down a prayer for Moldovan families. And then I used some of my clip art. Now I realized that was kind of a mistake. And so I'm going to tell you why it was a mistake for me to do it so that you can avoid that pitfall and how I'm solving it. So the reason it's a mistake is because families are really important. They're very important to the fabric of society. They're also really important to me personally. And so just giving one page for it and then having it start something else, that would, one page is just not enough for Moldovan families. So there's a couple of ways that I thought of fixing that. One is because it is so important, I can just have pages of that all the way through my notebook. My notebook is a binder, and so one of the nice things about that is that you can rearrange stuff. You can put it wherever you want. Okay, so So I can put those, I can scatter the pages of prayers for Moldovan families and things about Moldovan families. I can scatter those throughout. But what I decided that I will do actually is, because it does make sense to go from Moldovan families to Moldovan churches. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in after the part that I did on education. I have God Bless the Children here, and then I have education in Moldova. And so what I'll do is I'll put this in here, but I'll also include a few pages in between those where I will set aside for praying for families, for children, for marriages, and that kind of thing. And I'll probably go ahead and make up those pages kind of like I did with the churches, where I put some artwork on it so that I know that that's what it is and it's reserved for that. I can always put in more pages of that if I want to. But this makes sense to put it right after education. So I feel like I've solved that pretty well. I can put 4, 5, 6 pages, sheets in here, which would be, 10 or 12 pages. That should be plenty to do about children and about marriages and families. If for some reason I don't fill those pages up, okay, if I do fill them and I still have some of the year left, I can just add more pages in there. But if I don't fill those up, then I can fill them up with poems about children, or poems about Moldovan families or something like that. But I'm sure I can fill them up with information that I find and with prayers. Okay, so I recently asked our group, what is similar, how is my journal similar to prayer walking? Okay, and I don't know at this point if anybody's come up with that answer or not. I haven't heard from anybody, but I'm going to go ahead and give the answer now. Prayer walking is praying on site with insight. That's Steve Hawthorne's definition of it. He wrote a really great book about prayer walking. I can't go to Moldova, so I can't pray on site with insight, but I can pray with insight. And so I'm gaining insights by looking up these things, by learning, first of all, about the country itself and its flag and what that means to the people, and then some of its symbols, so that kind of helps you to know what's important to them. I have the food here I'll probably put in more recipes too, just to make it interesting to me and, more of a real place. I'll probably move the recipes closer to the back. I'm not going to keep those right there. I have some vocabulary. I have stuff about children, education, families, religion. That's what I've got so far. And I'm going to have quite a bit about government too, because that's very important. And I'll probably have its relationship to Russia, because that's also important. So those are insights that help me to pray. And it's the closest I can get to praying on site when I pray using my journal. When I look at my journal and I see, well, I already used this as an example earlier, but I read about, religion in Moldova, and I pray about those things. That's the closest I can get to actually being there and praying for it. I'm praying in here, and I often write my prayers in my journal as I go. I leave a lot of blank spaces or little pieces of paper, scraps of paper that I can write prayers, or just, one-word prayers even on there. And so that's how it's kind of like prayer walking to me anyway. So I hope you enjoyed this little thing. That's all for today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.